Good afternoon, everyone. I'm George Smith. I have the pleasure of serving as Director of Michigan State University AgBioResearch, and I'm here with Representative Jerry Neyer, and we're going to have a great conversation about the importance of agriculture to the state of Michigan, the importance of the work AgBioResearch scientists do, kind of doing research leading to practical solutions for our partners, and really going to take advantage of Rep. Neyer's perspective in telling us how we can be more effective with colleagues downtown and better tell our story about the importance of the work of AgBioResearch, MSU Extension, and the Land Grant Institution in general. So, Rep. Neyer, welcome. We look forward to the conversation.
Thank you for having me. I enjoy being here.
Yeah. So I know agriculture is a subject that's near and dear to your heart. So tell us a little bit about your background in agriculture, and given agriculture is the state's second largest economic driver, what do you hear from your constituents? What do you hear from farmers? And what do you hear from agriculture industry reps about the needs of the industry in Michigan going forward?
Okay. Well, born and raised on a dairy farm up in the Mount Pleasant area. Still live here, just a couple miles away from the farm. Farmed right up to the day that I got sworn into the House of Representatives just a little over 3 years ago. And been a reason why I'm there is because I've been a strong advocate for agriculture and the industry over the years, and that's sort of how I got my start into it, is by working with different commodity groups and advocating for us. And one thing led to another, and now I actually sit as the chairman of the House Agriculture Committee. Um, as far as what I'm hearing from farmers and the industry there, at a legislative level, is the challenges of dealing with the regulatory environment that has been it continues to grow and makes it very difficult to be flexible in the industry. And so that was sort of my challenge to get down there, was to try and make the regulatory environment uh, common sense, as opposed to just a myriad of agencies that want to make it more difficult to do business. I'm trying to make these agencies, I want to make these departments and agencies more friendly, more telling us how to tell the farmer how to do it, as opposed to just telling them no. And that's what I'm hearing from the industry. And once it comes to listening to the people around me and the rest of the folks there, whether it be in the legislature or in my district, it's a challenge. They don't know what it takes to put food on their table, and so trying to explain why we need why this type of regulation will make it much more difficult for farmers. You're trying to protect the environment, but you're also restricting how the food gets to your table, or making it more difficult and more costly. So trying to tell that story to not only my constituents, but also my fellow legislatures is a challenge. And I need support from the folks at Ag Extension and MSU to help tell that story and help us guide us through this process when we're making rules and regulations that not only benefits uh, the environment and the people, but also helps the farmer and the processors to be able to produce the food at a reasonable cost for the consumers.
Yeah, Representative, those are really powerful statements, and you just gave a great testimonial for the role of Michigan State University, the state's university, and the land grant mission, and the important role that ag research can play in doing research to provide science, to provide actual data, actual evidence to inform policy, and the important role that MSU Extension does communicating that information to the university, getting it out to people who can use it. We're always here to be a resource to folks like you in the legislature to provide our perspective on information that's already known. And in some instances, we don't have the data to support, sound, logical, common sense solutions, but we can play a key role in generating that data that can really help pave a brighter future, not only for agriculture in the state, but for those that care about the environment and so forth, which are our farmers. Farmers were our original conservationists as well. We know they care about the environment. And I have to sidebar a little bit. I remember the first time we met, Representative. It was at a Meet Michigan listening session that myself, Quentin Tyler, the director of MSU Extension, and our dean at the time, Kelly Millenbaugh, had up in your neck of the woods with the goal to be out and meeting with stakeholders, meeting with farmers, meeting with folks in communities to learn from them about what the challenges and opportunities are. So we really appreciated the input you provided. Our relationship has grown from there, and we're here to help you be successful as we are for every elected official. So thinking about your perspective as a farmer and now as the chair of the House Ag Committee, how do the unique partnerships in Michigan agriculture contribute to success of the industry?
Uh, when it comes to MSU and extension and agriculture, I grew up underneath that environment where you're always partnering with the researchers and providing that on the grounds information. And as you go across the state here, we're quite diverse, not only in the ground that we live on, but also the crops that we produce. And so you guys being there as opposed to just being on campus all the time, being out in the field, providing that boots on the ground information, and then also looking at our problems individually, really is what stands out and makes, I think, MSU and the extension services unique here in Michigan. It's just not a paper that you hand us there. You come out and help do the research and help us find real world solutions that we can afford to implement on each operation. So to me, that's what makes the relationship between MSU and Extension unique. And then now you've taken it a step further where you're also looking at it at an economic standpoint there. You just don't simply grow the products. Now we got to find a market for these products. We've got to make sure that the products that we're producing are what the customer and what the people want. And so you're providing pathways down there with the packaging facilities and research and economic research to see whether or not this farm or should take a turn and start growing a different crop, or should they go into direct marketing or another creative way to create new income for these farms, because the economic environment's constantly changing. Everybody talks about the good old days. Well, I don't ever really recall where there's good old days where you just simply grew it and didn't worry about it.
Mhm.
But it's much more important these days. They're giving the type of markets that we're facing there, that the farmer takes an interest in the end game and who they're serving, and you guys serve as a conduit to that pathway or to that communication for the farms.
Yeah, Representative, a lot of great information there to unpack. I wish we had time to go into more detail, but I do want to continue to emphasize one point you made about the role of AgBioResearch, the research arm of College of Agriculture's and Michigan State University in Agriculture, Food Systems, and the Environment in developing real life solutions that can make a difference. In today's day and age, in the current climate, even beyond, I say this publicly, I'm continue to say it. Research for the sake of research is a waste of taxpayers' money. We need to make sure that research is targeting towards solving real world problems and making a difference for agriculture and really every Michigander. In some cases, it might take a few years. Some cases, it might take decades. But our farmers, our growers, and ranchers are facing real challenges. And it's our responsibility as a land grant institution to do the research, to provide solutions, and then working with Extension to get it out to people in our industries and in communities where it can really make a difference. So, kind of drilling down a little bit more in terms of the importance of research and extension and the partnerships. Tell us a little bit or provide your perspective as a state legislature on why it's been important for the legislature to fund programs like Project Green, the Michigan Alliance for Animal Agriculture, agriculture resiliency, and or the recent investment in infrastructure for our new dairy and greenhouse facilities.
Well, agriculture, just like everything else, isn't static. Uh, the Whether you're talking the physical environment, that's changing, costs are changing, and a farmer doesn't have the room to gamble on trying something without having some type of support. And we need the legislature to continue to step up like it has been there to provide that steady environment for research that we do or that you do down there at MSU, and be able to give those give that stability to the market because we're the second largest industry in the state, and I'd say that it's a lot closer than what some people think because food and uh, and it's not just food, it's tourism, it's travel, it's tying over into our energy sector as well as our health sector. All these things are interweaving into agriculture and are into our agriculture economy. And so those dollars are needed. And prospectively, looking at some of the dollars that we're putting into the research, it's relatively small in our budget, but it's a very important part of it. And because it's giving it almost immediate results sometimes year over year, it's a small investment with a great return of on the public dollar.
Yeah, I really appreciate that, Representative, and I'm biased. Agriculture's in my DNA. I grew up on a farm. I really appreciate the societal relevance and the impact of the work we do. I would argue that during the Great Recession, agriculture helped keep the state of Michigan afloat, and we can do so much more. There's so much potential for an even greater impact growth in our industries, helping make an even bigger contribution to not just the agricultural economy, but the state of Michigan as well, when you look at the intersection with energy and other things you talked about. So we may remain committed to our mission, to doing the work that we do to make a difference and trying to continue to better tell that story. So, kind of transitioning to our next question, we're very fortunate to have you and others in the legislature that have an agricultural background and know agriculture and understand agriculture. But the numbers of farmers are getting smaller and smaller all the time. So when you approach discussions, what can you share with us, MSU, and what can you share with farmers in the agriculture community about discussions that are had at your level around agriculture and what can we do to sort of support you in telling that story?
uh, in the legislature, we've been rather fortunate over the last decade or so to have several folks that are farmers that have worked on the farm or directly with the ag industry. Unfortunately, we're losing with this next election. We'll be losing several folks that have a ag background and understand the agriculture field intimately. So, what will be the challenge for farmers? Going forward will be getting with their legislators and telling their story and telling the need for it, and then also with uh, MSU extension and research telling the effects that they've had on the industry, not only on the industry but also on the economy and for the folks that don't have an ag background, how it benefits them to continue this, funding the research and putting the dollars into the ag industry,
Mhm.
the public dollars into the ag industry that we have in the past. We're just simply going to have to become better storytellers and give an example after example of how this is done and how this money is truly, I hate using tax dollars as that investment clause that's overused, but it truly is an investment into our state's economy and our for the future to make this stuff grow.
Right on, Representative. If we look at society and the public, everyone eats, but I think it's on us to do a better job of talking about the importance of agriculture in providing a safe, wholesome, nutritious food supply. I know it's something that some people take for granted, despite the fact that we still have people in this country that do really suffer from food insecurity. We went through a pandemic, first time in my lifetime, where you went in the grocery store to buy food, your options were really limited. But that's on us to tell that story. We have to be able to communicate that impact and the broad impact of agriculture in a more effective fashion. So it's not, I would say, taken for granted from some individuals. So yeah, it's all about us and telling our story to get better. And hence this new impact campaign we're marching on, which your this interview and podcast we're doing today is one piece of that, to really talk about the impact. So we are always interested in any ideas, any suggestions you have on how to be more effective in that regard. So kind of doubling down on that. I know we touched on it a bit. Is there anything else you can tell us in terms of advice on how to improve that story, or what we might do to cast in a broader perspective so that not just farmers appreciate it, but people from all parts of the state? Anything else come to mind? Any other suggestions? Anything you've heard in conversations with your colleagues that you think has been really effective?
Well, I think it comes to also discussing the whole supply line there. You
Right.
said that it gets to the store. Well, how does it get to the store? All those links in the chain from the farm
Mhm.
to the consumer is an important part of the industry, and we always go about saying about the middleman absorbing the cost. Well, they're not. You look at it individually, each link in that, and they're no means taking advantage of the situation. They're trying to provide the best service, the best product possible, and there's a cost to that. And those people, by and large, are doing it at a real value or real economic value to the people that they serve. So I think, when we talk about, just don't talk about the farm. We got to talk about the processor and what they're doing and how they're producing it. The actual truck going from facility to the store, and how that's affected by different things and different regulatory costs that are in that. So, when we make up regulations to raise, say, the fuel efficiency on vehicles there, that has a cost. And when you do that, that eventually comes to the consumer. So when we're talking about making something better for one purpose, may have an economic impact on the other. And that all comes back to the consumer. So we got to be a little bit more creative than just talking about the farm. We got to talk about the whole process of getting that food to the table and the things that we need to do to improve that. And you guys aren't just researching what's happening on the farm. You're going into the processing of the food, into how the supply lines are managed, and that's something that you guys may not necessarily in research may not necessarily advertise, but it's all part of the consideration when you guys are doing research to help out the farm.
Yeah, great point, Representative. You look at the breadth of our research portfolio, it covers every aspect of the supply chain from the farm to the fork. And I think you're right. We need to do talk about that more. And MSU really is leading in a position to lead in those areas. If we want to think about relevant issues, and if we lose our processing capacity for specialty crops, that is not going to be good for our specialty crop industries in the state, which are really, really, really foundational to the overall agricultural economy and help make Michigan special, along with the other commodities that add up to over 300. So, what we can do to help them provide innovation, automation, other things, both on farm and in processing that will alleviate some of the needs for labor, really important. We have the world's premier School of Packaging as well. And so you start to talk about innovations in packaging that can really benefit the consumers, can benefit the retailers, can benefit the processors. We're in a position to do it, and we are doing it. We're going to continue to do it, but we got to tell that part of the story better. Yeah. Point well said. Um, Representative, I wish we had more time to delve in detail, but there's a lot of other aspects of the ag economy that we don't talk about as much relative to other uses of our commodities, beyond just food
Yeah.
or as feed for livestock, et cetera. It's a whole new area. We think about the circular economy and alternative uses of commodities or providing value to other components of an agricultural operation. And I know you've been a strong supporter for our new dairy on South Campus, and what a foundational investment that is. And that whole concept was a big part of, I think, what helped us successfully get funding from the legislature, the ability to tackle environmental sustainability issues and new sources of revenue, whether it's biogas, renewable natural gas, produced from the manure and alternate sources of revenue, whether it's reclaiming water, et cetera, et cetera. So the next one we need to spend some time talking more about other uses of agricultural commodities because that's a big part of the future as well. And we are in a position to lead. And I know there's some topics there that are near and dear to your heart. So Representative Neyer, we're kind of approaching the end of our time, but I want to give you the opportunity for a last word. If there's any other thoughts you want to share with us, any insight, anything about what makes Michigan Ag special, the work that AgBioResearch and Extension are doing, and advice for us for the future.
Well, Michigan's, greatest asset is the variety of crops, but it's
Right.
also sort of our biggest holdback as far as resources go. How do you spread that across 300 different product or produce that we produce here in the state? So kudos for the research and you folks down there dealing with everything from potatoes to cherries to dairy to pigs. I mean, that's quite a scope to cover. Um, the best thing to do is just keep telling the story.
Mhm.
Be engaging. Don't be afraid. Whether you're a farmer or whether you're a researcher, to engage with the legislature and let
Mhm.
us know what's going on down there, and the benefits that those contributions that we make to the university have played out for the state, and also focus in on the partnerships. It's not just, like you said, it's not just research for research. This is what the folks out here in the field are asking for. This is what the industry is asking for. And the partnerships that MSU forges with the industry and the various commodity groups has been the key to success. You're out there listening to what they want and
Mhm.
basing what you're doing on what the industry is asking for, not just simply come up with that idea and chasing it. And just continue to tell those stories and keep us in the
Mhm.
legislature informed, and don't be afraid to ask for time with us, whether
Mhm.
you're a farmer, whether you're a researcher, or whether you're an industry. Please engage with us and let us know what's going on, the importance of how it affects everybody out there.
Representative, this has been an incredible conversation. I wish we had more time. Appreciate your time. I appreciate the great insight you provided. I want to thank you for the support you provide for Michigan agriculture, the support you provide for MSU AgBioResearch and Extension and Team MSU. We really enjoyed working with you, and we look forward to continuing to work with you in the future.
Well, thank you for your time.